We've all heard it growing up, haven't we? That standard advice, go to school, get a good job, work hard, save money. It's like the foundation we're all given for financial
Yeah.
security. But what if? What if that's not the whole story? Or maybe not even the best story for building real wealth? What if true financial freedom comes from, well, something different, a different kind of learning, a totally different way of thinking? Okay, let's get into this. Today, we're doing a deep dive into a book that really shook things up for a lot of people. Robert T. Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's pretty seminal, right? Our goal here is basically to give you the shortcut. We've gone through summaries, pulled out key bits, to give you those, essential nuggets, the surprising ideas, so you can walk away really understanding this financial philosophy that's genuinely made a difference for many. Now, the core of Rich Dad Poor Dad, the thing that really grabs you, is the story of two dads. Kiyosaki talks about his poor dad, that's his actual father. Highly educated, worked incredibly hard, respected guy, but always kind of struggling with money.
Mm.
And then there's Rich Dad, his best friend's father. Not much formal schooling, but a really successful entrepreneur, an investor, just full of this, like, street smart financial wisdom.
Exactly. And the book uses they're totally different approaches to life and money. It's not just about how much you earn. That's almost secondary. It's really about how you manage it, how you invest it, and maybe most importantly, how you think about money. It's like rewiring your financial brain.
So what are these big lessons he pulls from these two dads? We're going to unpack 7 core ideas today. These are the ones that really shift your perspective. First, the rich don't work for money, they make money work for them. Big one. Then why financial education is actually more important than academic education. Next up, really understanding the difference between assets and liabilities.
Crucial. And that flows right into the fourth point,
Huh.
how the rich focus on building and owning those assets.
Right. And then number 5, this interesting phrase, mind your own business. We'll get into what that really means. Sixth, exploring the power of corporations, how the wealthy use them. And finally, number 7, work to learn, not just to earn. So for you listening, this isn't just some abstract financial theory. It's really a chance to maybe question some things you've always believed and get a fresh look at your own financial path.
Yeah, what's so striking is how Kiyosaki just flips things right from the get-go. That first lesson, the rich don't work for money. They make money work for them. It directly tackles that paycheck-to-paycheck life most of us learn. Think about it like most people are pushing that wheelbarrow, right? Working hard, moving bricks. Kiyosaki says the rich. They focus on building the machine that lays the bricks for them automatically.
That's a huge shift in thinking.
It is. It's not just about working harder hours. It's about building systems. Systems that generate income, whether you're clocking in or not. His poor dad, emphasized job security, the steady paycheck, time for dollars. But Rich Dad, he pushed understanding how money itself works. And critically, how to build assets that make money for you.
That really hit home for me the first time I read it because honestly, like a lot of people, I was definitely in what he calls the rat race.
Hmm.
You trade your time for money, you get paid, pay bills, maybe stash a little away, but then you're right back on that treadmill next month. So if the wealthy aren't just focused on the salary, how do they actually, start building these systems? Where does that shift begin?
Well, it's a great question, and it often starts with changing your perspective,
Mhm.
which ties right into lesson 2. Why financial education is just so vital. His poor dad valued good grades, diplomas, that was the path, security through academics. But Rich Dad, he was all about practical, real-world learning.
Hmm.
Learning about money, investing, business, stuff schools, well, they just don't really teach.
Right, they can't really teach it effectively in a classroom, can they?
Arguably, no. Not in the same practical way.
And that feels like a massive blind spot for so many of us. We spend years learning, I don't know, history or advanced math, which is great, but we don't learn how taxes actually work day to day or how to look at an investment or even just manage debt smartly. So is Kiyosaki saying traditional school is useless or just not enough?
Well, he's definitely not dismissing it entirely. Remember, his poor dad was highly educated. But he's arguing it's insufficient. It's not the whole picture for financial success. Financial literacy, really getting your head around money, taxes, debt, investments, that's what Rich Dad Poor Dad says is the real key. It's not just what you earn, it's what you know about money and how you use that knowledge. Which kind of leads to the next logical question, doesn't it? If you don't understand the building blocks, how can you build anything? And that brings us to lesson 3, understanding the really critical difference between assets and liabilities. Kiyosaki keeps it simple. Assets. They put money in your pocket. Think rental income, stock dividends, a business that cash flows. Liabilities, they take money out. like that expensive car payment, credit card debt, or even, controversially, a big house with a mortgage, taxes, insurance, upkeep.
Okay, yeah, this is where it gets really counterintuitive for a lot of folks. Because many of us, maybe most of us, think our house is our biggest asset. It's the dream, right? But if it's mainly costing you money every month, mortgage, taxes, repairs, and not bringing cash in, Kiyosaki would say, pragmatically, it's behaving like a liability.
Exactly. It might appreciate in value over the long term, maybe, but month to month, it drains cash.
So the lesson is basically buy things that actually generate income or truly grow in value, not just things that look impressive or cost a lot to maintain.
Right. And that distinction, it leads straight into lesson 4. The rich focus relentlessly on building and owning assets. Think about the typical cash flow pattern. Most people earn a salary, pay taxes first, then spend what's left on expenses and liabilities, things that often lose value or cost money. The money flows out.
Whereas the wealthy, they flip that completely. It's like reversing the direction of the money hose. Instead of draining out, it's flowing in from their assets first. And that income pays for everything else, including the luxuries.
Precisely. They prioritize acquiring or building those income-generating assets. Then the income from those assets funds their lifestyle.
Okay, but doesn't that take a lot of money to start? Or, a huge leap, especially if you're just starting out.
That's a really common thought, but Kiyosaki argues it's more about mindset than massive capital up front. He talks about starting small, focusing on education first, making strategic moves. The main thing is the shift in priority. Assets before luxuries, assets before liabilities, which naturally connects to lesson 5, which is super interesting. Mind your own business.
Which sounds like telling someone to stay out of your affairs.
Right, but that's not what he means. He means you need to build your own business, meaning your asset column. Focus on your financial independence, separate from your 9-to-5 job. Your job pays the bills, maybe. But your investments, your portfolio of assets, that's your real business.
Wow.
That's the engine for long-term wealth and freedom. It's a radical idea. Your career is just one income source. Your wealth-building project is your lifelong enterprise.
I really like that framing. Your investments are your true business. That's powerful. Your salary covers living, but your assets buy freedom. And speaking of, let's say, more sophisticated ways to build wealth, Kiyosaki brings up something really important in Lesson 6, the power of corporations. He explains how wealthy people use corporations, not just for running a big company, but for serious tax advantages and legal protections that most regular employees just don't have access to.
Yeah, this is a big one people often miss. They think, oh, corporations, that's for like Apple or Google, but individuals. We earn money, pay taxes on it right away, then pay expenses with what's left over. Corporations, legally, can often structure things differently. They can earn income, pay allowable business expenses, first things like travel, sometimes vehicles, depending on the rules, and then pay taxes on the remaining profit.
So they get taxed on less income, potentially.
Potentially, yes. And it also provides a layer of legal protection, separating personal assets from business liabilities. Kiyosaki sees this as a key tool for financial sophistication, for keeping more of what you earn and growing wealth faster.
That seems like a massive advantage, a real game changer if you can utilize it.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the final core lesson, number 7, which kind of ties it all together. Work to learn, not just to earn. This isn't saying don't try to get a good salary.
No, not at all. It's about prioritizing skill development, sometimes even over the immediate highest paycheck. Kiyosaki really hammers on developing crucial skills, things like sales, communication, negotiation, marketing, and obviously investing itself. He argues these practical skills are often more valuable for long-term wealth building than just having a fancy degree. And that's really where it culminates, isn't it? He's saying that understanding how money really works, how people operate in business, and getting those practical skills, that can lead you to substantial wealth, even if you didn't follow the traditional academic path. It's about building your human capital in a way that directly boosts your financial intelligence, makes you more adaptable, more resilient, no matter what the economy is doing.
So, pulling this all together, what does it really mean for you listening? Rich Dad, Poor Dad isn't your standard finance book focused just on, say, budgeting better or saving more pennies. Fundamentally, it's about shifting your mindset. That's the core. It challenges you, really pushes you to question those old beliefs about jobs and security, to actively go out and seek financial knowledge, often outside the usual places, and crucially, to take control of your financial future, aiming for real freedom, not just being rich in the superficial sense. It's about becoming financially literate and proactive.
Exactly. And if we synthesize those main lessons, Remember, money problems often come from a lack of financial education and the wrong mindset, maybe more than just a low income. It really underscores the importance, the critical need to build multiple income streams. Don't just rely on that single paycheck that keeps you running on the hamster wheel.
Yeah, diversification of income, essentially.
Right. And the big call to action is take charge of your financial life. Don't just depend on your employer or the government or hope for luck. And like Kiyosaki stresses, this journey, it often requires courage. You have to be willing to take calculated risks, but risks informed by knowledge, not just blind leaps.
And maybe to guide you on that path, a couple of his most famous quotes really stick with you, don't they? They capture the whole philosophy. It's not how much money you make, it's how much money you keep. That's a big one.
Huge.
And maybe even more fundamentally, don't work for money, let money work for you. So as you think about all this, especially that key distinction Kiyosaki makes between assets and liabilities, here's something to maybe mull over. What's one financial decision you've made in the past that, looking back now, feels like it might have come more from that poor dad mindset rather than the rich dad approach? And knowing what you know now, or thinking about these principles, what might you do differently next time?